while your day is winding down. They're just getting started. This is South Coast Tonight with Chris McCarthy and Marcus Farrow. They've got you covered on all the news of the day, from local issues to politics on both sides of the aisle. This is the place where the movers and shakers come to be heard, to listen, and where they're held accountable. This is South Coast Tonight on WBSM.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Chris McCarthy. As always, Marcus Farrow's here. Welcome to South Coast Tonight. We'd love you to have us join us at 401K. 508-996-0500.
I wouldn't mind doing Providence.
401?
Yeah, 401.
Yeah, that's 401.
Yeah.
Providence is a very nice market. Buddy Cianci was the first one. He broke through the barrier to make $1 million a year as a talk show host.
Oh, yeah?
$1 million a year. That was a long time ago. That he broke the barrier for $1 million a year.
Yeah. It's hard to, yeah.
$1 million. He had the afternoon show.
Yeah, I know.
3 hours.
It was a long road to get there. But
he certainly paid his dues.
He certainly paid his
dues. That's right.
He did pay his dues.
Although he did get to beat up his wife's boyfriend with a fire poker. So most guys would do the time for that. But now, Marcus, speaking of revenge, if the city council really wants people's opinions, right? Here's a great way to show your opinion. Run for office. Okay. No better time in the city of New Bedford, I would say, in the last 10 years, since Scott Lang got into the race.
Yeah.
To run for office.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I don't think the mayor is vulnerable this year. That's all I'm talking about. I'm saying for the city council, if you ever wanted to be involved in municipal government, it's a 2-year term, not a 4-year commitment. There's plenty of issues across the board. Because even if, let me just point out, if you favor rent control, you still should be upset about this city council. Because they didn't really move you forward. They just asked an opinion question. They wasted 2 years and came up with an opinion question. What I'm saying is that you can run and say, I'm for rent control, but I think these guys haven't done anything.
Right.
I mean, there is a progressive argument as much as there is a conservative argument to be made against what the city council has done.
508-996-0500. Good evening.
Hi, Marcus and Chris. Just had a question for you.
Sure.
I know, Marcus, you're on the Board of Public Works.
I used to be. I stepped down because I'm too busy here, but I was as of...
Oh,
yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yes.
But my question was with the Proposition 2.5 override in the town of Fairhaven.
Yep.
I was wondering what you guys' opinion of that was.
Sure.
And I think, Marcus, you live in town. I don't know if Chris lives in town.
I do.
Yeah, we both live in town, yeah.
I didn't know what your feelings were about it, and I was just curious.
Sure. So here's my opinion.
Let's explain.
Yes. Go ahead, Marcus.
I wrote a story. It's on WBSM.com. You can check out. I spoke with Kevin Gonzalez, who's the president of the Fairhaven Firefighters Union, and they talked about their low staffing. Right now, they're at 6 firefighters per shift. They're going to, I think, by July, move to 7 firefighters per shift, but they're really saying 9 is where they need to be in a space that's tenable, not optimal, but at least operational, where they can do their job with it not being a serious safety risk. So they said there's a few ways in which that can be done. They talked about safer grants from the federal government. They said that the town can reallocate. They can reallocate some money. But one of the things that seemed to be the most realistic was the Prop 2.5 override. So the Prop 2.5 override is. Chris, explain what the Prop 2.5 override is.
Sure. So we have two kinds of Prop 2.5 overrides. One, generally debt exclusion for a building. So, for instance, a new school, a new town hall, something like that, which goes on for the life of the bonds, 20 years. Yeah. Then you have a general Proposition 2.5 override to fund general government.
What is Proposition 2.5?
And Proposition 2.5, it limits the amount of the levy, the taxable levy, to 2.5% increases at the most per year without a 2.5 override. With the override, it allows, on a general override, allows tax to be raised for the lifestyle, for the life of taxes, which is forever, on the amount, okay, to fund general government. I'm generally skeptical of those, and I think it has to be done with a very close eye on how the money is being spent.
So is the reason they're doing it, is it for the fire department staffing?
Well, that's the reason.
That's one of the reasons.
That's the reason that the fire department is lobbying for it. That's not the fire department. The fire union is lobbying for it, is because they said it'll generally cost people $1, something like $1.27 per week.
I believe, although we haven't spoken to him here, my impression is that the administration of the fire department, the leadership, supports that idea. They're working close with the union.
I know they support extra staffing. I'm not sure on the funding.
No, I'm not sure either. Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure on how it's funded. They do support a 9-person firefighter per shift staff.
But there's no doubt about it. They do the budget, so they know it's a money issue.
Yeah.
Right. What you're seeing in some places is a staffing issue because of a lack of personnel, not funding. But in Fairhaven, it is funding.
Online, and they say they only have like 5 people in the fire station, and they all go off of calls and different things from there. Then they're understaffed.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
it's actually like incredibly dangerous because, as Kevin had explained a couple weeks ago on the show, they had a fire on Main Street where you think of the apparatus they have, the fire trucks, right? There was 3 fire trucks they had with 1 firefighter on each of those trucks, and so the reason that they said. The operationally they can do 3. They said optimal's 4. Operationally, most departments or many departments do 3. And the reason that there's 3 is because each person has a task to do on those big trucks.
They break down. Just like when he talks about it, I think about my military time. We had a 3-man crew on my military police team. Everyone knew what they were doing. One guy was a driver, one person was a gunner, one person was communications. And you all had to do your separate roles. I would just say this, that most of us never want to have to call the fire department. We never want to have to call an ambulance. For most of my life, I never did. Until I had to. I should say my girlfriend had to call. And the Fairhaven Fire Department saved my life. Not once, but twice. And that now, maybe that's a disappointment to some of you, but just to, with all joking aside, I'm alive today because of a Fairhaven firefighter who took the time to convince me to go to the hospital. And I asked, it's funny, because when I came to and came through everything, and my story is pretty well known, and it's not about me, I'm just saying it could be you as well, that when I I came to in the hospital, I asked one of the nurses, I said, hey, what would have happened had I not come in that day, had I just stayed home, which was my plan, because I said to the firefighter, I'm all right. I'll go tomorrow if I don't. He said, Chris, there's not going to be a tomorrow. You've got to go now. But he knew that I wasn't making sense. My oxygen was down. I didn't understand the situation. But I agreed, and I trusted the man. So I went with him, right? So the nurse told me, he goes, I know exactly what would have happened because it happened here in the hospital. He said, you would have died because you almost died here in the hospital. And he detailed all the stuff that happened to me. He said, none of that, you wouldn't have had any of that at home. You would have died. Your girlfriend would have woken up and you would have been dead. That would have been the end of you. And it's only because a firefighter took the time to explain to me, let's go, you've got to go. And then the second time was when I wasn't feeling well, and I could have put it off, and I was in kidney failure. But by then, I knew better because I'd been saved once before. And so the firefighters came and they took me to the hospital, and they decided I didn't realize I was in kidney failure. My father was also saved by the Freetown Fire Department. He'd had a heart attack. He was dead at home. They put the paddles on him, and they brought him back to life. I'm just saying, for one family to have two members brought back by firefighters is not just that the McCarthys don't take care of themselves. It's that you may not either. So I would say the 2.5 override's worth it.
I think so. And just to put a sort of a bow on it, what Kevin had said is the cost would be like $1.27 per week per taxpayer, basically per household.
Yeah, well, that was my question. I was wondering if you guys supported it and if that was what the main reason was for it. I do,
and if that's the reason for it, yeah, I do. But as Chris said, there's going to have to be some, just watch. There's going to have to be some close monitoring of how that, because there's no like once the override happens,
that's
right?
It. Yeah.
The toothpaste is out of the tube,
right?
So I support it. I think as someone who, when I was a kid, when I was younger and I lived off the neck, when I was with my parents and all that, I had to call the fire department a few times, right?
Right.
And not because of something I did, but
it was the other kid.
Not because of something I did, but our house almost caught on fire when we lived off the neck.
Not that Marcus had anything to do with it.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to do with it. Our house almost caught on fire, and the other one was responding to a medical emergency from someone in my family. So as someone who's had to contact the Fairhaven Fire Department numerous times, I do think it's something that if that's the only option to bring us to 9 firefighter staffers, I do think that's the option that we have to take.
But this caller's doing the right thing. He's asking questions early.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Right. Is it just for that, or is it for something else that we don't know?
I think, yeah, that's.
Well, here's the thing. Town meeting is where all the decisions are made. Your board of selectmen is the other legislative body that makes the decisions.
But then does it go, if it passes through town meeting, does it go to a vote?
It goes to a ballot. Yeah, that's a great question, sir. So what happens is the selectmen vote and the town meeting vote to put it on the ballot. And then it goes to the voters. It'll go to the voters in November.
In November, okay.
Yeah, and so that's when the voters will get a chance.
Yeah, what is it? Would it be in this November? So people would just be basically showing up to do a 2.5 override, or would they wait till the next town election?
I'm not sure, Mark.
I'm not sure, but it would. But the process would still be the same. They'd have to do the town meeting.
But the town meeting is usually in May, correct?
Usually May or June, yeah.
And then you'll get.
May,
they could also do a special town meeting just for that.
They could, although they may have to do it. I'm not. Again, some things can be done at special, some things can be done only at general town.
But eventually, you still have to go to the general.
Eventually, it goes to the ballot. Yes.
Yeah, you have to vote for it. We all have to vote for it.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Yeah. So I think you're doing the right thing. So you're asking questions early, because the thing is, I think, given what I have heard about what they need the money for, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, that being said, I know that nobody wants to pay more taxes, and that you want to make sure your money is spent the best way possible. So I do think that questions are important, and sit around and wait for the answers, and then make sure they make sense to you, right? Ask the firefighters, ask the police, ask your selectmen, the town administrator, ask them what they need the money for. The finance committee. I used to love watching the finance committee on television here in Fairhaven. I thought they asked really good questions, although I think one of the more experienced guys has retired from the finance committee. But really, there's a lot of questions. I think it's good to start early asking questions, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks for the call. Thanks. Appreciate it. 508-996-0500. By the way, you're getting high marks from Wally in New Bedford saying, give that man a gold star, Chris McCarthy for mayor. And I wanted to clarify he wasn't saying anything bad about Tim. He said, but Yeah. So this is a good question. If we have to, we're going to. It's worth revisiting this topic.
Because the thing is that voting to increase your taxes, is a serious decision.
Yeah.
Right. And
well, not even just voting to increase your taxes. Voting to give your government carte blanche to raise your property taxes for whatever reason they want.
Right. Yeah. So you want to make sure, and again, you're going to hear all kinds of things, right? All kinds of rumors, all kinds of stuff, rumors on top of rumors, right? Mm-hmm. Which is the worst. Yeah. It's when you hear a rumor and then you run with it and you make up another rumor, right? Yeah. Or misconception.
I think we do the show.
It is our business model, but the point being is that my experience is that you've got a lot of knowledgeable people who are particularly knowledgeable in their segment, right? The firefighters, boy, I'll tell you something. I did many union contracts as a selectman. Firefighters, town workers, police. They know what they need, and they are to a fault honest, I would say. Yeah. Firefighters particularly really want good equipment, and I understand why. Here's the reason how a firefighter can save your life. It's a combination of skills, training, confidence in their training, confidence in their equipment, and confidence in the people around them. All right? If you've got enough, and they never have enough, I guess that's the right way to put it, but if you have the right training, the right equipment, and you trust the people around you, the numbers that they work, and you trust that their equipment and their training is going to work, they'll go into any burning building and save your life or your child's life. Yeah. Or in the case of the last fire, a cat's life.
That's very important.
Right. Marcus particularly thinks that's important, as do I.
Well, because I've always, that's one of the things I'm like, if there's a fire, how am I going to save my cat?
You're not going to. The firefighters
will save my cat.
Right. Yeah. And we've really seen a lot of heroics. And of course, I'm talking about all the firefighters in the area. You look at the incredible heroics. It's because they're confident that they have the training and that their equipment will work.
Yeah, and there's one other thing on this point that Kevin had brought up, and I think it's important to talk about. What the union's acknowledging the importance of call firefighters or people volunteer, people that are like on call, whatever, they get to the call and they go out there, they take those risks as well. They acknowledge that, and they say it's really important. It's important to the workforce and all of that, but. The staffing is really what it's really for is those critical moments in the early the onset of the fire called the initial attack. Right. And he said, a fire doubles in size every 30 seconds.
It's amazing.
So if you don't put an extinguishing agent on that, if you don't have people in the initial attack working on that, it can really get away from you. Right. So that's the reason, it's great to have call firefighters and all of that, and call firefighters do a tremendous job.
And they're also those guys are the next few years hiring class.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. It's almost like an academy in some respects. I will tell you that one of the nice things, and we used them in Freetown, and we used auxiliary police in Freetown. I'm not sure if Fairhaven has auxiliary police. But that's a great way for the community to get to know a person before you give them a contract.
Yeah.
To be a firefighter or a police officer. Yeah. You get a chance to see them in action. Yeah. Get to see if you want to really work with this man or woman. Yeah. Whether they've got what it takes. And if they've got what it takes, and whether they really want to do the job.
Well, I had to sit on the other side of the microphone for 2 years before I got a show, so I know all about that.
Well, at heart, I am a fraternity brother. There must be a pledge period.
Yeah, it sure was. Yeah.
Complete with forced drinking and everything.
When's your show? I don't really have a show. I just I show up on Fridays. Someone else's show, but I'm there. Sometimes.
I'm waiting for Chris to get sick. Hey, oh, look what happened. Marcus, in conjunction with his Chinese communist brothers.
So that was hell. You kidding me? Where's Chris? I don't know.
Oh, that's right, because we weren't really telling anybody at first.
No one was telling anything. So everybody's yelling, where's Chris McCarthy? I don't know.
We called the jail. He's not there.
I gotta take a break. So, Chris, I think it's worth just taking a moment, because I haven't done this yet.
Right.
But just taking a moment to let people know, as of last week, I actually still got to write my letter to the select board. As of last week, I am no longer serving the town in that capacity as an elected official in the Board of Public Works. The reasons for which being, I'm here.
Right, you're here. Well, look, I think that's a very responsible decision on your part.
I agree.
You can't.
I agree.
Well,
it was very prudent and responsible.
There's only so many hours
Noble,
in the day.
some would say. Yeah.
There's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't do it. Here's the thing, and I want to say I appreciate them moving the time for me to earlier, but even still, even to 5:15. But even then, I still couldn't give it the time and attention I did before, and the time and attention that it deserved. I'm proud of a lot of the work we did.
Right.
One of the things that I'm most proud of, and I did it, and I worked with my colleagues with the Commission on Disability, for which I'm still the chairperson, and with my colleagues in the BPW, and with the great staff at the BPW. Vinny Furtado, Becky Vento, and all the great department heads. But one of the things we did was we made our town beach more accessible by putting accessibility mats. We got accessibility mats approved, and a new beach wheelchair, which is really, really nice.
Those are really fantastic, the beach wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, Marcus, that it's nice to give other people an opportunity.
Yeah.
To serve.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I wasn't able to give. And there's so much important stuff that we do there. Right. And there's so much important stuff the BPW does. BPW, one is the Parks Commissioner, which every town and city has a Parks Commission. In New Bedford's appointed, and I think maybe Dartmouth it's appointed. In Fairhaven, it's elected. It's the BPW. Town water and sewer, paving streets, all that stuff. That's all stuff that the BPW takes care of. And again, I think the BPW does
tremendous work.
Tremendous
Performance. Year in and year out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, anyone can get it right once.
Yeah. And,
right?
During most of my time there, the town always cuts your budget, and we're always working with shoestring budgets on this and that and the other thing. One time they messed up the warrant, so we lost our roads budget for the entire year. We lost it on the town meeting warrant, and we were still able to make that up. And, it's not necessarily because of me or because of any of my fellow public works commissioners. It's because of
staff, right?
The staff.
Right.
Yeah, the staff that we got there. Vinny Furtado is just a fantastic superintendent, came from the DPI in New Bedford, and is really, I think, we're lucky to have him. And during our time there, we extended his contract, so he's there for a while.
One of the things you can tell is if you ever watched, and from time to time we all get an opportunity to watch that department work, right? Mm-hmm. They're doing something on your street, things like that. They're highly motivated guys and women. I can always tell. Let's just say men and women. I don't know what the ratio is as people. They're highly motivated workers. I watched them a number of times. Right before storms, coming and cleaning out the drains, and that's not fun work.
No, it's not.
But they do it, and that look, it goes from the head down, right?
Yeah.
The top guy isn't motivated, his workers aren't going to be motivated. And
we've hired and promoted people to department head positions that are fantastic. We during my time had a new sewer superintendent that's amazing, and a new highway department superintendent we hired that's also amazing. So we're doing the work that the BPW does is so important. But I just wanted to let people know, because if people still calling, hey, I got a question about this, I got a question about that.
What he wants to do is what he wants to say.
Call the BPW.
He can't say on the air, but it's over.
Yes, I'm sorry. I appreciate.
But if you have a disability issue, or a family member does, he is still on the disability.
I'm still the
commission.
chairperson of the Commission on Disability. It's a responsibility I think I can still handle, and I think we're making a lot of good progress there. We're just to segue into the Commission on Disability and some of the work that my colleagues on the commission do. We've gotten closed captioning in public meetings done. The beach accessibility is a big thing. We worked with Lieutenant Kabza to get a voluntary registry for people with disabilities, the Fairhaven Police Department, that you can put you or your loved one's information there, so that if first responders are responding to a scene, they know sort of what they're stepping into if they put someone's name into their database. Right. So a lot of good stuff there. A lot of really great work that is continuing. The Adopt As Thought program we're still working on to get people, basically to get a coalition of people that will shovel out bus stops in Fairhaven, the most frequented bus stops, so that people that are in a wheelchair or use a walker, they don't have to stand out in the middle of the street because there's too much snow around their stops. So there's a lot of great work they're doing there.
508-996-0500. That's how you can get on the air. The town of Fairhaven has a lot of really great people in it. It does.
At least two.
No, but I'll tell you something, Marcus. This is kind of funny. You'll appreciate this.
By the way, John in Fairhaven says, love hearing you guys talk about Fairhaven.
We'll do it some more.
We'll do it some more.
I got a book. Actually, got it from Taylor Cormier. It was from it was a collection of Standard Times articles, front pages. It would be like the front and the second page of the paper. They were put together. It was from the 1940s. All right, so you get an entire year of front pages and second pages from the Standard Times. And so I was going through it, right, and I see a little blurb in the paper talking about the Mothers for Milk program, right? And it was a volunteer program where they would raise money. It was an original type of like a food stamps program. Okay. They would get milk for mothers, right? Mothers in the town would of Fairhaven raise money, pull the money together, and they would buy milk for families that needed it. Okay, yeah. And the chairperson was my grandmother.
Oh, cool.
Right? Yeah. So Mary Alice McCarthy, and but it's funny. It was Mr. Mary Alice McCarthy, or no, Mrs. Joseph McCarthy. And then later on I had her name, right? Yeah, that was my grandfather's name, Joseph L. McCarthy, right? So, Mrs. L. Joseph McCarthy, right? Leo Joe McCarthy, Joseph McCarthy. So they, it was pretty cool, right? To see that in the paper. And I remember my dad telling me that your grandmother, you say my mother, your grandmother, that was one of the things in town, because they didn't have
like WIC.
They didn't have any of that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So if it wasn't done by the church and by local community groups, right, it just didn't get done, you know. And so that went back to I don't know when she started doing it, at least the 1930s. But this happened to be the 1940s. During World War II that this paper came out. So those types of things. And so much in the town, Mark, as you just pointed out, is volunteer stuff, right?
Almost all of it. I mean, right? The only position that's paid and elected is I believe, a select board. It's like $5-6 grand a year. I think Board of Health gets a stipend too, but still nothing.
No, and then all the volunteer work that people do, like this group you said, the shovel out.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get it's called the Adopt As Thought program. We're trying to get a coalition of people to shovel out stops or find commercial partners, which would probably be more preferable because it'd be a lot easier for people to do it with a plow as opposed to getting out there, shovels and all that stuff. And every stop that is frequented in Fairhaven, there's a lot of them.
Marcus, have you ever had your driveway plowed as opposed to shoveling it?
Yes.
And then you go, why haven't I been
the person who plowed my driveway is probably listening right now.
You better thank him again.
Thanks,
but
Barry.
What a difference.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What a difference.
508-996-0500. Good evening.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, what's going on?
I was calling to say that I had cast my vote. It was for Sheriff Hogan. I'm really surprised that came out the way it did.
Particularly, I thought Sheriff Hogan was going to win.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that brought you to this happened a little bit ago. So, is there any particular reason?
Is your last name Van Winkle?
My last name?
Yeah.
No, Ruffalo.
Oh.
Ruffalo. All right. So,
Mark.
So, are you? Is there any particular reason that you brought this topic to us?
Well, that was the way things are going there. Trump's still on his January 6th insurrection about the vote, and that's a vote right here in the Bedford. And then I was a Charlie Baker guy, and for him to step down for the NCCA or basketball seems like a step down in life. That's a responsibility.
I don't know. He's making more money. I think
he's making a lot more money.
Considerably more powerful, too, now than he is.
A responsible position in my eyes to be a governor and to step down to basketball.
Well, he served 2 terms. And
about the money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he served 2 terms, and then,
I think he wanted a new challenge, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And I think
Jeff deal.
Yeah, I think with the issues that are going on in the NCAA, and it's all over the country, I think Charlie Baker looks forward to that. Obviously, he decided to go in that direction. Had he wanted to maintain his governorship, I think he could have.
I think so too.
But there is a shelf life to everything, particularly public service. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, thank you. 508-996-0500 is how you can get in the program. Let's take a break.
Listen to us live anywhere in the world on the WBSM app.
Hello, I'm Jose Hernandez, and I have been using a wheelchair since my accident in 1995.
My name is Andrea Delzell, and I've been using a wheelchair since I was 5 years old.
I guess if I had one message for the general public, it would be that I appreciate your help. But please, ask first.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that I've actually got everything under control.
I think people get nervous. They don't know how to act, so they pretend I'm not there.
What probably bothers me the most is when waiters talk to my companion and not directly to me.
I think everyone with a disability can relate to that parking spot problem.
We know you're just parking in that disabled spot for a second, but please, don't. We're just looking for the same respect and consideration as everyone else.
United Spinal Association is dedicated to enhancing the quality of life of people living with spinal cord injuries and disorders. Download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org.
One's on the left, the other on the right. But they're both ready to call it right down the middle. More of Marcus and Chris on South Coast Tonight, here on WBSM.
I'll tell you more. I'll tell you later.
All right.
I'll tell you later.
508-996-0500.
That's how you can get on the program.
we're talking about some Fairhaven stuff, some New Bedford stuff. But if you'd like to give us a call and bring up something interesting as well, we're happy to hear it. There's a lot going on. There really is. Mm-hmm. And just because we're zeroed in on those topics doesn't mean we're not conversational in all kinds of topics.
I am conversational in many political topics, so hit me with your best shot.
Plus, rap music, basketball.
Yeah. Rap music, basketball. We can talk about De Niro movies.
Something about the courts.
The courts. I've been to the courts.
Marcus, would you defend someone who's about to be arrested for paying a prostitute or paying a porn star for her extortion money?
Yeah, definitely, because it'd probably make a lot of money off that case.
You'd have to get the money up front, though, I think. That particular...
I don't think it'd be a problem.
That particular...
You're right. Yeah. Actually, I'm not sure. Yeah.
You don't stay rich by giving your money away.
That's a good point. Yeah. Right. Good point. Yeah.
508-996-0500. But Marcus, getting back to the city of New Bedford, if there was ever a year to get into city council, this is the year.
Well, we're not seeing a lot of movement yet, and it's got to probably happen. It's got to probably happen soon.
You've got to be talking to your friends and family.
We haven't had anybody declare formally for any particular offices yet.
Right. We've had people say they're not running, though. We've had people say that they're... Councilor Lima?
Yeah, so we've had Councilor Lima say he's running. We did have Zach Boyer say he's running for Ward 5, he ran against Councilor Lima last time. I've heard rumblings about people running for that seat, but still can't break anything official yet.
Right. We've heard... Well, let me just say this. We know Joe Lopes, former Ward 6 council, former president of the city council, is now lives in Ward 5.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that. We've heard other candidates.
That feels likely that he'll run to me.
It does.
Yeah.
Me as well.
It feels likely.
But we've had other names that I wouldn't put out there yet because they're in the decision-making
I asked
mode.
Paul Chase. He said I asked him on air because I had him on. He said he wasn't sure.
I would think that Paul would this is his year. Maybe not Ward 5. Maybe it's at large. I don't know. But I would think that Paul at this point would recognize that the thing he didn't do last time, and maybe the time before that, was start early enough.
Well, the last time he didn't start early enough. The time before that, I think it was just...
Sometimes
you just don't win.
Sometimes it's like the riptide. Nothing you can do, no matter how strong of a swimmer you are, it drags you out to sea. You just can't control it. There are times like that. But I think that time is on people's side unless they squander it. People are paying attention like we've never seen before, I think, this cycle.
Yeah, I think so. Frankly, when we're frank about it, a competitive mayor's race would bode well for
it would
turn out. Someone's asking, someone, by the way, Wally from New Bedford, gave you high marks. I didn't really get any high marks, just you. But
I like Wally already.
So Wally from New Bedford,
discerning man.
Asked if he asked if and you're going to say yes, if this rent control question is just a way to get turnout.
Well, I think Councilor Burgos said that. So much. And I would say that it has no other purpose because it's nothing but a ballot question with no force of law.
Yeah.
At the end of it, all it does is nothing. Right? It registers the opinion of the people, but it's not even so precise that it gives a direction. It just says, basically, here's what the argument is going to be. Do you want lower rent? We have a scheme for lower rent. Would you like a lower rent? How would anyone vote against that?
Yeah.
That's all you're going to get. Now, you're going to get a lot of opposing views, but I don't know what they're going to argue over, other than the principle of private property, which I think is sacred to the American public, but we'll see.
Huh.
It's the foundation of the reason we all eat well, quite frankly.
So we're going to take a break. We see some calls in line. We'll get to them when we get back. That's stupid. It was dumb. It was dumb, Chris. 508-996-0500. Good evening.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, John? How you doing?
How you doing?
Good. So what's this I hear they're trying to arrest Trump tomorrow?
I don't think that's true.
I think that Trump is.
I think Trump
building. I think he's starting an alarm. I don't think it's made up because they are working on the security.
He said he was going to get arrested on Tuesday.
Right.
We haven't had any verification on that yet.
They are working on the security. I think he blew the alarm ahead of time because he wants to get a big crowd.
I think even his own spokespeople aren't even confirming what he said.
Oh no, they aren't.
So
they're not. Yeah.
I was running on the treadmill today at Planet Fitness, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching all these TVs. Right, they got like 20 TVs up front. I'm watching all of them, and there's like 4 that are on these news channels. Right. Well, thank God one of them was Fox News.
Right.
You know, I was like, all right, at least one sort of credible, news agency.
By the grace of God, an incredible, very credible news agency. Yeah.
I figured you'd like that one, Mark. Yeah. But no, listen, so then there's right next to it is MSNBC, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at both of them, and I'm just going back and forth, and then one of them's like, oh, he's going to get arrested tomorrow.
Right.
Then Fox News is saying, well, the witch hunt continues. They got to find something new to go, bash on Trump about. I mean, they just let this guy go, man. I mean, I know he's running for president again, but it's like, Jesus Christ. I mean, enough's enough. You know what I mean?
Look, my feeling on it is that it is very dangerous to encourage county district attorneys to be going after presidents and presidential candidates criminally. That all of us have to live and do business in various counties all over the country. Mm-hmm. That when you try to have a federal government, the fact that you're going to draw a candidate, no matter where, from a political county, the idea that, look, former President Obama, under the theory of that county district attorneys ought to be empowered or encouraged to go after former presidents. You don't think there's something that the county district attorney for the Bristol County, for the Cape and Islands, could go after Obama for? Well, of course there is.
Let me get this straight. So he allegedly had an affair with Stormy Daniels.
I think it's pretty set in stone. I don't even think it's alleged anymore, right?
All right. Well, I mean,
I don't know if that's alleged. But.
Well, he's never admitted it.
Okay, so he had an affair with Stormy Daniels.
But he paid the hush money.
But he paid the hush money.
The extortion money. Okay. It was extortion money.
Well,
it's extortion.
Right. So
the story is that. Go ahead. Sorry.
So they're arresting. They want to arrest this guy because he paid a woman hush money because he had an affair with her.
Right.
Is that's the story? That's the story what he's going with?
Yeah, but it's not because he paid her. It's how he paid her is where they're looking to indict her. I'm looking to indict him.
What they want to indict him for. Listen how crazy this is. They're saying that he did it to cover up for his campaign, and that he didn't because he did not use campaign funds. It was a violation of campaign finance law. As if having an affair would only have impacted his political career, which is the only reason you can use. Yes. In other words, the woman said what happened was she contacted a National Enquirer to sell her story. Donald Trump had a long-running relationship with the publisher of the National Enquirer. He reached out to Trump and said, this woman is trying to sell a story to us about you. At which point, Cohen contacted her people.
You're not going to have time to finish your story.
Who made a demand, and they gave her the money.
I thought they contacted her.
Trump's people.
Trump's people contacted her.
Yes, they contacted her people.
That's not extortion. They're saying we'll pay you this.
She was trying to